Growing up playing Pokemon, there was always one trainer that got your palms sweaty when you heard their battle themes blast through your Game Boy or DS, and that was usually the champion. The strongest trainer in a region that you can only beat after getting 8 badges and besting the Elite 4. It is then no surprise that the champions are some of the most iconic characters in Pokemon, despite the fact that they usually don't have much plot relevance beyond a few encounters here and there. But one champion broke this trend, and today we will be talking about the champion nobody likes. And when I mean nobody, I mean nobody. This is the biggest fraud in Paldea. Of course, I'm talking about Geeta. Who else? In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the champion rank worked a bit different than in other games. Usually the champion is one person, but in this generation it got changed to being a rank, and within that rank you still have a hierarchy of sorts. So this means that becoming a champion does not mean you're the strongest because there's still champions higher than you. Like for example, you have Nemona, she's a champion, but she's not the top champion. However, in typical Pokemon fashion, it's never really explained how you advance within these ranks because there are no real champion on champion battles in this game. But just keep this in the back of your mind for later on. But yeah, this is where Geeta comes in with her title La Primera, which means she's the de facto top champion in the region and the chairman of the Pokemon League and is allegedly the strongest. But sadly, she's just a Spanish Bruno. So let's get on to her design. She's a darker skinned, very slender, androgynous woman with long black hair that resembles squid tentacles. She wears this black suit with black accents and some yellow accents as well. And this is the funniest shit about her. She wears these gigantic dress shoes. And honestly, whenever I see these shoes, I always think, bro, you would fit perfectly in Kingdom Hearts. And I instantly knew that she was not a beloved character because usually a good barometer is seeing how much fan art is created of that character, because usually when Pokemon drops a new female character, there's a ton of fan art. Like for example, Nemona had a lot of fan art, Professor Sada, Yono had a lot of fan art as well, but Geeta, I almost saw no fan art of her. And her being a champion, this is very, very strange. And to this day, I still cannot see much fan art of her. Her personality itself is also pretty bland. We don't really know much about what her hobbies are or what she enjoys to do, although it seems even the gym leaders don't like her at all, with Tulip saying she's not the biggest fan of Geeta. But before we get to her team, I want to take this small moment to thank you guys for the support. You guys have been amazing on my last video. I really love reading your comments, and I also want to say please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm making way more videos, I have way more ideas, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But let's get into her team right now. And to be honest, her team is mid at best. Her tactics are also some of the worst I've ever seen. Her team is a Espathra, a Veluza, a King's Gambit, a Glomora, a Avalugg, which to me is just an Ice Cube version of an Onyx, and and a Go-Goat. Oh my god. The first time I saw her team in action, I literally laughed out loud because she legit has a Pokemon Showdown randomized team. Although she does have a lot of Gen 9 Pokemon, the issue is that they just all suck or are used in the literal worst way possible. Her two best Pokemon are King's Gambit and Glimora. Glimora is a Pokemon you weren't able to encounter before this fight, so it's a big surprise because it lives deep in Area Zero. It has the ability Toxic Debris, which is really great, where when it gets hit with a physical attack, it drops toxic spikes on the field. So it's a perfect Pokemon to start a battle with, right? And King's Gambit is a new evolution of Bisharp and is one of the best competitive Pokemon ever and still sits in Gen 9 OU, but is banned in National Dex OU. That is mostly due to its ability Supreme Overlord. And this ability gives King Gambit a 10% increase in its attack stat and special attack stat for every allied Pokemon that has been defeated. So if all of its allies faint, it gets a 50% increase in both those stats. It's basically a really strong ability, and any toddler that didn't hit their head when they were just born would know that using it last is the best strategy. So we use our collective galaxy brains to deduce that Glimora and King's Gambit should go first and last respectively, right? Well, Geeta does none of that. This fraud, in her first battle with her, uses a Glimora last and a King's Gambit third. Bruh. Also, she can Aura Farm while terraforming her Glimora into a rock type? Am I reading that correctly? Because guys, her Glimora is already a rock and poison type, which makes no sense at all because Terraforms were introduced in Generation 9 as a sort of third typing to usually counteract a weakness your Pokemon had in terms of typing. So for example, you could use Steel type Terraform on a Charizard to counter its horrific matchup against a Rock type. And to be honest, I really like Terraforms because it added a lot of depth to the gameplay, especially competitive Pokemon. It really helped bring some Pokemon back from lower tiers and make them more useful. Although it did look hella goofy because often it did look like your Pokemon had urinals on the top of their head. And when we go over to her other Pokemon, honestly they're pretty forgettable. Veluza is just a mid Pokemon that has no redeeming qualities. Espathra is an okay Pokemon, but 2 out of the 3 starters heavily counter it. And then we get to the true bottom feeders of her team. Oh boy. Go-Goat. What do I have to say about this one? I don't know, bro. Geeta is one of the only champions with no pseudo legendaries or mega evolved Pokemon. I know they gave her a Go-Goat because her team is supposedly to be a mirror of Paldea itself, each Pokemon coming from a certain biome, but couldn't they just find anything else than a Go-Goat? You know they knew it was ass because they changed Go-Goat with a Chestnut in the Blueberry Academy fight in the DLC once you can battle the champions again and the gym leaders and Elite Fours again. Then we come to the final Pokemon, Avalugg. Like I said, this thing is just an Onyx you left in the freezer too long. Look at that speed and special. And mind you, I wouldn't call it this bad if the most popular starter and one of the best Pokemons in the playthrough was not the fire starter, the Skeledirge. And Ice being the single worst defensive typing in Pokemon makes it just a weird addition. Like this thing gets slimed in a second. This all just makes it way funnier when she says she's incapable of holding back, like sis. Nobody's scared of you, even if you're not holding back or you are, like no one cares. Nemona wanted to invite Geeta to the Academy Ace tournament, but this bum declined because she had gym inspections to do. As if she didn't know Nemona would put her ass on a shirt as soon as possible. And while making this video, I started realizing that Geeta serves no purpose, and if you leave her out of the game, you would lose nothing. She has no relevance with the Team Star storyline. She is not the final battle you have to overcome for the game to be done. You still have the battle with Nemona and the Professor after this. By the way, the battle against Professor Sada is amazing. It's still one of my favorites in the series. And if you just remove the whole champion tier and put Nemona as a league champion, the game would make more sense. And it would be more climactic as Nemona was the first trainer you battled in the game and the final one before you head into Area 0. So not only is Geeta fraudulent in terms of gameplay and team composition, her whole concept as a character is pretty much obsolete because after you beat her, she again vanishes, and even in the DLC she's still missing mostly besides the rematch. I really hope Generation 10 introduces a better champion that has an aura and iconic design we all crave. Cause say what you will about Gen 8, Leon is an infinitely better and more likable champion than Geeta ever was. And the idea of the whole champion tier system is cool and all, and probably was meant to have an in-universe reason why there can be multiple champions at the same time. Game Freak just needs to make sure that the champion has an actual reason for existence and is not just a filler character. But hey guys, we're at the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I really love making these types of videos, so there will be more to come. If you guys like it, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see all of my new videos when they come out. And have a great day guys. Much love. See you later.